Welcome back, everybody, to the ZMAM show as we're taking a look at Fear the Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 2. It's called The Hurt That Will Happen. And there were definitely some things that were in play this episode that kind of spoke to that title. This was a little better footing, I do believe, than last week's kind of, I don't know what you would call it, stumble as a premiere, because I just really wasn't feeling it. And as you know, we gave it a lower score of around a 6.5, but this one I feel we got a little better footing going, so let's go ahead and get into the details. And again, we're going to talk the events of the show, and then we'll give it a score. And I also want to mention another cool trailer for something I saw while watching AMC today. But anyways, let's get into it. So, here we are. We starting off with Strand, and he basically finds Daniel. Now, I understand the problems that these writers run into with so many episodes and so many things that have happened in the zombie world, but the fact that Strand has known for all these months where exactly Daniel was, does anybody find that a little bit off? Again, I don't want to start nitpicking the hell out of this show, but I feel this, I keep going back to the writing. It's like, writing is so important, and not that I'm a perfect writer in any way or shape or form, but I just feel like maybe you could have given us a little more context as to how Strand knew he was even there. And unless you guys saw something that I didn't, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, Daniel, I know where he's at. Let's go hang out with him. Please tell me if anybody was feeling this with me or not, but either way. So Strand makes it to his compound. He meets his cat, this and that. A gun gets pointed at him a couple of shots later, and basically Strand is inside, and they're talking shop, basically saying that he needs an airplane that he has, basically. And it seems Danielle knows about Althea. She remembers the journalist or whatever and who she is. And but the problem is that Daniel does not trust Strand whatsoever. The last time these two were together, mind you, a bridge was blowing up and Daniel got shot in the face. Now, mind you, where exactly is that hole in his face that he should have? His whole jawline should probably be all, sewn together and this and that, but it's not. So, again, take that as you will. What's going on here? I don't know. But we jet over now to John, Alicia, and Morgan as they're basically going to check on Althea at the crash site. They know she's been taken. They notice that a bunch of weapons and ammo have also been taken from the site. And basically Morgan and Alicia head out and they try to find any more clues that are around in the area. They basically find more and more roadblocks, and they're just not getting anywhere. I will admit, while they're out in their searches, when we finally saw that those zombies reaching up for that bird trap, that was kind of ingenious. Kind of a cool little trap to get those. Now, how you keep those birds alive long enough to actually do their job, I do not know. But all the same, it was cool seeing those zombies kind of reaching up for him. But Morgan gets way too close, of course, got to, and but he needs to get in close proximity to take it out. And all of a sudden, he basically gets snared with his feet, and he falls to the ground, and him and the zombie basically get into a quick entanglement. And luckily, a mysterious person jumps out in radioactive kind of suit gear, all whited up, and puts off a shot into the zombie, and then points it to Morgan, saying, "Take your clothes off." Now, mind you, in a situation like that, if a female asks me that, usually I want to be asked to dinner first before we get to that part of the night. But all the same, Morgan's laying there, and he's just like, "Clothes off? Okay, I guess we can do that." And so basically, she puts her gun away for a second, and then before you know it, Alicia comes in and tackles her ass to the ground, full on, lineman style, and basically gets her gun, and now it's pointing at her, and we're trying to figure out who this woman is. So apparently, there was a reactor in the nearby area that went critical and melted down. I can't help but just, after getting done with Chernobyl, I feel like, this is interesting how now we have radioactive zombies in the show. But it's interesting. That's an interesting take on it. I'm willing to bite. So she talks a little bit about it. She says how Morgan can be infected, his clothing, even his staff, and that she basically needs to get him, washed off and this and that ASAP. So they get up to her truck. He's washing himself off. I figured at least Morgan got a shower out of the deal. That's kind of cool, right? How often do these guys actually get to bathe? The smell must be atrocious, right? So Alicia now has another close encounter. So as these three are traveling together, basically we're finding out that there were certain people that were with her at the nuclear plant. She was basically running the plant, and I guess they were trying to stay safe in this, but basically a lot of them, I guess, got maybe some lethal doses of radiation, and then some of them left and went on doing their own thing and were killed out there. But they're all carrying those dosimeters, the little reading devices around their necks, and I guess she's trying to track them all down. I guess that's her purpose. That's what she feels she has to do, because she doesn't want to take the chance of them infecting with radioactivity any other people. Mind you, them being zombies and trying to bite everybody else too. But whatever, she's got a mission, and I guess you got to respect her for that. Alicia plays hard ass with her for a while, I called it, just because she's just not listening to her. She's not understanding the true threat. And again, Alicia's just still angry right now. I mean, from losing her family, she has very little to hold on to right now. And so it can be understood why she's acting the way she is. And we get into that in just a little bit when her and Morgan have a heart-to-heart. So yeah, Alicia has a pretty cool encounter with about 8 to 10 zombies, and the zombies are looking super decayed and grimy, and I thought that was kind of soupy too, and that was really cool. And then they fall into that really slimy sludge mud pit. I mean, how cool was that? The cinematography, I think, was spot on in this episode, not just with this, but some other cool things, and I'll get into that in a bit too. But again, I thought that was a really cool battle, but again, she's not really understanding that she needs to stay away from these damn things. One of the zombies did have a scimitar around her neck. She ends up taking a lot of them out close quarters. I will say her weapon is pretty badass, but again, super close quarters, easy to make mistakes. She almost does get a bite to her leg, but manages to get free from those, and I guess our scientist lady ends up killing a few with her gun, and she ends up bagging the one that she needs to wrap up. She's basically wrapping them up in plastic, probably trying to bury them deep down, so again, the radioactivity doesn't reach up to the surface. Okay, so it's interesting. Okay, that's cool. So apparently there's another 63 people or so that this scientist lady is actually trying to track down. But on a side note, I know last week I did not get all 3 names for the kids that were in that van that we saw last week. So we have Max, Dylan, and Annie. Okay, so now we have all 3 of those, although they did not appear in tonight's episode. But however, it looked like John and June were basically kind of trying to track them a little bit, I guess, while they're out doing their search for Althea. And they kind of come across like I don't know if they were cabins or just a small little town or something like that, or maybe it was even just a trailer park. But they come across, and there's a bunch of signs in there, stay out, don't enter, and they're filled basically with zombies all over the place. And they find a sign that they remember that was on top of the kid's van or whatever, and it's off the side of the road. And they're thinking maybe they pushed it off, maybe it just fell off, who knows what. But they think that the kids could be nearby. It seems June is very interested in finding these kids once again. I think they're just a big pain in the ass myself, but so goes the story. We'll have to see how this all plays out. Meanwhile, Luciana is pretty much high as a kite, or at least at times she appears to be, right? I gotta admit, I like the actress that plays Luciana, but at times it's just kind of like, I mean, are you or aren't you? Are you dazed and confused, or are you not? And maybe that's just the thing. Maybe when you're under the influence of those drugs and so forth from the pain for her wound, maybe you are kind of in and out of it. But it was very interesting. But she wanted to play the accordion or something like that. I mean, obviously drugs talking this and that, but interesting musical choice for an instrument for sure. She finally gets a hold of Strand, okay? So Strand, he's still over there trying to convince Daniel and all that good stuff. She gets a hold of him, and finally this is like Strand's proof to Danielle that basically he is trying to do good. He's trying to get to his friends. They need his help, and, he needs to let him have that plane. Well, anyways, as this is all going down, Luciana hears something outside, or at least nearby. And after she gets off the CB with Strand, she decides to go and check it out. This is a great idea, right? So she gets out there. Now, mind you, the night scenes looked amazing in this episode. That's what I was talking about, that cinematography earlier. I give a lot of points added just because everything was just very creepy, had that kind of Halloweenish feel or whatever. Just very cool and eerie night, okay, with the moonlight coming in and the fog. And so she's looking around, and it finds out that it looks like an antenna fell off of the building or whatever by the wind. Again, I don't see any high winds, but whatever, I digress. The antenna fell off, made a loud racket, and now we see some zombies coming in from the tree line, several of them, enough to where it's a big problem. And this moron, now I'm going to blame it on the drugs, because I mean, I know Luciana is not normally a moron, and she's usually kind of with it, and she's kind of a fierce woman, a fierce fighter, right? I like to think she's pretty smart, but the drugs were clearly taking over on this one, or bad writing. I'll let you choose. And she basically tries to put off a few shots of one of John's guns that he gave her, and she can't hit anything, to save her life. So she runs away finally, gets inside, locks the door, and then the zombies are outside, and she kind of passes out. Okay, that's all cool and whatnot. Again, a little over dramatic, I think, just knowing that her condition. I mean, why would she even take the chance of going outside? But all the while, she did, okay? And the next time she wakes up, we have June basically kind of, getting her back too. And at first I was just thinking, whoa, how the hell did June get in here with all the zombies out there? Well, that's the thing. Luciana says, where are the dead? And And June's like, what are you talking about? And then they go back outside and they see that all of the dead zombies that were attacking, I guess, her little compound were beheaded and then strung up. And there's some billboard or something like that. So I will admit, it's pretty creepy. I mean, this show does a pretty good job at kind of keeping that, whatever that evil is out there, kind of that hidden entity, and keeping us kind of a little bit on the edge of our seats to try and understand what is coming their way. So, okay, I'll give them points for that. That was creepy. We find out that basically Morgan's going to have to lose his beloved spear and stick, whatever. The scientist lady basically says that she's been exposed also, I forgot to mention, to a pretty solid dose of radiation. And I don't know if it's a lethal dose, she didn't really say, but it sounds like she thinks that her time could be very, very limited. And so that's why she's continuing her mission. And she decides to go ahead and, well, they part ways. So Alicia and them say, that's cool, go do your thing. And I'm sure that's not the end we'll see of our scientist friend, but she is on her way to find her zombie distributor friends or whatever. And so yeah, so that was kind of interesting, and it was pretty creepy, I think, overall. At the very end, unfortunately, Danielle sends Strand packing. He says, I don't believe you. He said you didn't even get on the plane to follow your friends. And, you know, I'm like, oh, this does look pretty bad, I think, from Danielle's eyes. I mean, right, he's trying to, I think, you know, there's a lot of potential good within Danielle, but he can't let it go, especially for Strand. Not the way he used to act, and back in Mexico, he was a shady dude. But obviously he's grown a lot. We've seen this, we know this, and he is there for the friends. So, but as he's heading out the doors, Danielle puts a few shots off in the air, and he says, if I see you again, the next shot will be in your face. And so I'm like, well, I guess that spells out that one. Clearly, they're going to have to kind of reconcile some differences one way or another, because he's got to get that plane. There's no other way. I mean, Danielle's like, yeah, Althea, she's a survivor. She'll work it out. Alicia, resourceful, like her mother. I mean, now that he knows that also her mother and brother are dead, right? So it's just like, okay, I mean, I guess that's that. So he shuts the compound gates. Strand's pissed off. He takes out a zombie, and I love that last final shot. One of the best shots of the night, I think, in my opinion, just as that moonlight was coming down and showing all the silhouettes of the zombies. As one goes up to Strand, he takes it out and fiercely just punching the hell out of it. Pretty cool, right? So yeah, so some unfortunate things going on for our group. They're definitely they're gonna have to get it together really, really soon. I'm gonna give this episode about a 7.5. I think it's about a full point from last week, greater. I think we're finally getting a footing, so we're kind of getting an understanding of kind of what's going on, but yet there's still some evil in the area that's still elusive, but we'll hopefully be putting this story together. And that's what I feel like kind of Fear the Walking Dead is. It's just like it's putting that kind of mystery together, unlike that of just The Walking Dead, which is kind of like, these are the situations and these are our friends and we're just kind of working it out. So with that said, though, I also wanted to talk about, I saw a preview for something that looked very, very cool and kind of creepy, and just, I'm not sure what to think about it. Yeah, I'll have to look it up and do some more research, but it's called The Terror Infamy. Sorry, it's debuting 8/12 on AMC. So I remember watching The Terror, what was it, about a year ago or so, with Jared Harris and stuff, where they're stuck on the ships for a couple years in the Arctic and so forth. I don't know if this is like kind of like a series, kind of like Black Mirror, that's going to keep releasing every so often with just these like scary mini-series stories or whatever, but it looks really interesting. So I hope you guys, if you know anything about it, make sure to mention in the comments for me. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It kind of helps me. It knows that I'm actually doing something right here, and that you guys are kind of enjoying the content. I know the viewership of Fear the Walking Dead has declined greatly, but I'm going to stick in for a while. I love everything zombies, thus zombies movies and more, if you didn't catch that one. You see a little zombie in my background. Love her too. So yeah, so with that said, you know, there's going to be a lot of neat things coming up in the near future too, and some other shows. I'm even going to release, I think, a review for the Hot Zone. I actually I gave my initial thoughts on that one, if you think it's worth streaming. That was by the National Geographic Channel, so be looking out for that probably in the next few days, maybe by midweek. Okay, so guys, it was great talking to you. This is Mike here at the ZMAM Show, and I will catch you again at the next review. See you guys.